Pacific Islands, lush, idyllic, populated by strong seafaring people living off fresh fruit, fish, taro, coconuts. But today, 9 of the top 10 countries for type 2 diabetes are in the Pacific. Here in Samoa, 1 in 4 adults are thought to have the disease. It is now the main cause of death and disability. Life expectancy is beginning to decline. How is it possible that this is one of the most diabetic places on Earth? Just 2 generations ago, Samoans were slim, fit, and largely free of non-infectious diseases. But what's happened here is also happening around the world. It's been more rapid in the Pacific Islands because of how quickly the change in diet and lifestyle has occurred. Food has gone from being self-sourced and self-prepared to calorific and convenient. In the village of Lalomalava is the 1 GP for the island of Savaii, an island with a population of over 45,000 people.
So we're just going to use one of your fingers.
Dr. Nola Gidlow has witnessed the rising tide of type 2 diabetes.
Definitely encounter a lot of people with diabetes. 5.4. 25–30% of our population are diabetic, and I would see about the same proportion in my clinic with not only diabetes, but diabetes-related complications. They don't always understand that if they don't look after it properly in 10 years' time, they could, be very, very unwell. There is a lot of misunderstanding or there's a lack of knowledge of the causes of diabetes and what they should be doing, what they could be doing to improve it. So I do spend a lot of my time educating people, and it's really the very basic information.
Tupua Tamasese Meaule on the island of Upolu is Samoa's main hospital. Already 20% of the beds are occupied by diabetes patients. Diabetes complications, including heart disease and blindness, develop slowly. So it's expected the number of patients needing hospitalization will skyrocket.
Diabetes is a tsunami in the Pacific, and it's happening right now. It's just that it doesn't you don't see it sort of coming as a wave. The thing that I know for sure, we cannot afford the treatment of these complications of diabetes. There's no way we can carry on the way we do it.
Much of the diabetes work at the hospital involves infections and sepsis.
Diabetic foot sepsis, and it's already been debrided. That means we remove most of the dead tissues. We control his blood sugar, antibiotics, then we borrow some skin and put on it to make it heal very fast.
We are seeing more and more diabetics coming. Probably 3/4 of the patients that we see here in our clinics are diabetic, and lately there's been an inflow of a lot of diabetic sepsis. I think more than half of our ward at the moment are diabetic sepsis patients. Our people here in Samoa, most of them, they usually seek herbal medicines first before coming to see a doctor. Even if they are diagnosed with diabetes, most of them, they're probably in the stage of denial, and they go back and they do a lot of herbal medicines before they come back. And when they come back, they either have renal impairment or it's at that late stage where it's too late. Another complication that we see quite a lot of with our diabetic patients are renal impairment. Like this patient that I'm seeing right now, he's not keen for dialysis, so we're just monitoring him here in our clinics, making sure that his sugar is well controlled, but there's nothing much that we can do since they don't want dialysis.
There's a lot of superstition around medication, just amongst themselves, and I guess it's just normal. Any human being doesn't like to have to be put on a medicine that you have to take the rest of your life.
In an effort to delay the flood of new diabetes patients, the National Kidney Foundation has set up a pre-dialysis clinic. Patients are screened and advice is given.
So let Elon for. Wow, okay. Yeah. 5 today, she's a diabetic. And she comes here too so that we can check her blood sugar so she doesn't end up on dialysis because our dialysis is already full up. So we don't have any space for most of the people that need dialysis. Koe fua kasi ng suka, eh?
Yes.
Maingi. .4. That's high. That's very bad. Alam nga lang suka lang makanga. So why did you have a diabetes in the beginning?
Okay, how suka?
She just found out she was sugar. Ay ame nga ikaw sa mi kele nga kay mi wali nga suka. Like cakes and
yeah.
She used to love sweet stuff when she was growing up. Suwan ko nga me ay lalili. Fuanga lalilo me ay ka suka. More on fruits and veggies. This is part of our work of trying to prevent or slow down the progression of kidney failure. A lot of people that get referred, they don't really want dialysis, so they just prefer to go home and die with dignity instead of coming here. Otherwise, our unit would have been nowhere to extend to. Because I think we're looking into extending our unit.
Dialysis began in Samoa in 2005. Before that, patients were sent to New Zealand, but that quickly became unaffordable. Almost half the healthcare budget goes on diabetes and other non-communicable diseases.
Mai le valuongo fai mai o ke suka. Au kiri krikomu kwa ai foleuli ia ele kere fisi ai o lo wama mlama a control le suka ele wa power no kero inga muku vai e ka kipi fo ia o menga o ia lo but o kere I ele so mlama va pele ngai fakunga o mo meo.
I love ice cream and lollies and fizzy drinks, sodas and all. I wish I had, taken heed of it and took my medicines when I was first diagnosed.
They have to do dialysis 3 times a week, just for the rest of their life. We're not sure whether we can sustain and maintain our unit here. We started up with just 11 chairs. Now we've got 22.
Foot infections are the leading cause of hospitalization for type 2 diabetes. They result in lengthy hospital stays. Even minor scrapes can result in open sores that fail to heal. The damaged blood supply makes diabetic infection hard to treat, so doctors resort to debridement, an operation where the unhealthy tissue is cut out. But once the infection reaches the bone, amputations begin.
The majority of our operations in the operating theatre is to remove a limb that has been affected by bacterial infections secondary to diabetes complications.
It's a very short staff and a lot of works that needs to be done for our patients. We're trying our best to treat the infections.
Ta'apenga Tumama manages the huge caseload of diabetes patients, but she also looks after her husband, who has had type 2 diabetes for 10 years, as well as her mother-in-law.
Our mama had an amputated small toe, and it was like a wake-up call for all of us to save the whole leg by, teaching and making a lot of food with veggies, try to eat balanced diets.
Fa vai wo ko tanga mo e suka. Ori 8 years. Vai kami ngai mo ia suka ile kele ni ka suka. Ka vai kami ngai wo kele le mo suka la ko le ai. Ia pa al me ole wo ko kamayan ko nga menga i suka la ki malole. Me e loe ile suka mawai suka nga e o ia wo suka ia lela se me wo le fa pe e ka nga ai a ke la longa ke le ka ka sa wai ke le ka le mga oi e fa i do la ko la mo wal mai suka ia ko la ia so fia ai ko ai me lolo ia wo ai le fa spo mi falai ma le mo falai once a week.
The Tumama family is trying to go back to traditional cooking to improve their health and prevent their 6 children ending up diabetic.
I always encourage them to eat veggies and fruits because I know diabetes is not a friend.
Nowadays, they can't afford to buy fatty foods and all that. They can just buy it from the shops. Changing of lifestyle, they prefer the important ones.
Because diabetes has been around for quite a time now, people think of it like the normal thing that everyone should get when they get old.
Oh, the boys don't like cooking. They love fatty foods like McDonald's. They always, oh, Mom, please, can we have fried chicken? Can we have McDonald's? I always scold them and ask them, get on the table and eat the soup. You will never get any other food apart from the soup on the table.
Traditionally, young men did most of the cooking. The diet was heavy in starch, taro and breadfruit. Although starch is a carbohydrate, which is slowly broken down into sugar during digestion, a lot of energy is spent growing and preparing it. Ta'apenga's husband, Frankie, says the new diet has had mixed results.
I lose some weight sometimes, but when I feel good, then I start to eat up again, then it's gonna get fat. What I've been thinking of is more or less that I'm no use. I really need to stick on my diet and lifestyle, not like what I used to eat before. It's really hard to go back to the old style. But will give me more time on earth.
At one time, Samoa earned money as an exporter of produce like bananas and cocoa beans. But with globalization, cheaper sources cut Samoa out of the market. By 2010, Samoa imported 40 times more from New Zealand than it exported. Now, Samoa is dependent on imported food: tinned meats, noodles, sweets, and soft drinks. Traditional food has been replaced by cheap foods, high in calories but with little nutritional value. It's what's affordable in a country where 25% live below the poverty line.
You need sugar. Some worry about the sugar, some didn't worry.
Samoans love sugar. As you can see, I've got lots of lollies. This is Samoan cocoa. We call it cocoa Samoa. It comes straight out of the cocoa tree. And some put a lot of sugar in there.
Samoa has tried sugar taxes and bans on the import of low-quality foods, like turkey tails from America and mutton flaps from New Zealand. But New Zealand and America refuse to support Samoa's entry into the World Trade Organization unless such measures were dropped.
Under the WTO, prohibitions and bans are not looked upon very favorably. So we have removed the discriminatory measure of banning imports, but we've replaced it with a measure that is less trade restrictive.
Instead of just, slapping a ban on every single product that we have concern, our WTO membership said we couldn't do that. So we had to become more creative, and hence we need to work more in collaboration with other ministries, Ministry of Health, in collecting the data that's able to justify that there's a direct link of this product to the increase in NCDs that we have at the moment. And with this type of information, we're able to sit at the negotiation table and say, look, we don't want to liberalize this good. We don't want to bring it down from 20% to 0 because we've so-and-so justification. On one side, you're imposing sort of restrictions on the importation of fatty, high-salt foods. And then on the flip side, you have, issues of food security. I mean, if you're going to import these things, what are the people going to eat?
Because of the rising medical costs, most government initiatives focus on health promotion. Exercise is always the handmaiden of diet and the fight against diabetes. 10 years ago, the government set up a fund to introduce physical activity into the community. Zumba is now the most popular exercise in Samoan villages.
Zumba is becoming popular in Samoa recently. People started to, get active, and I think 1/3 of the population, they do Zumba. It's a gift from God.
Community groups are taking it into their own hands. Pastor Paulo Pelenato doesn't want to lose any more of his congregation to diabetes.
The government needs to work with the churches, because a major part of the government budget is the health sectors. And the quicker they can turn around the lifestyle, the less money they spend on the health sectors. But religion do have a lot of impact on the lifestyle of the people. Whatever the ministers say, that will go. Our church is focusing on health and wellness. We will be soon opening a wellness center. The problem here in Samoa is that it's very hard to obtain the vegetable, the original diet, nuts, fruits and grain. The church can work with the members to prolong their lives and to try and cut down this deadly disease that is now spreading in the Pacific and also in many parts of the world. It's taken the lives of so many people. And so the health ministry need to come up, the churches need to come up, and all the people need to work together in order to try and alleviate this disease.
To overcome the lack of access to green vegetables, many villages are setting up communal gardens.
So the Lalamalava Village Gardens, the idea of this was born because my family run a restaurant. We realized very quickly that there was a very small supply of green leafy vegetables available locally. Everything had to be imported from the other island or even overseas at times. We saw there a need to have to do this ourselves. As people realize that they need to change their diet, they need to get healthy, they do start looking for what they can use in their kitchen. And if this isn't available locally, then that choice is not made easy for them. Just from being exposed to such a plantation is giving them new knowledge, giving them new ideas. It's been positive. People haven't just viewed it as something to sell to the tourists. They're definitely wanting to use it more in their own homes. But it's about getting enough of the right foods out there and available and cheap.
In Lalomalava village, people are starting to get the message.
There are so many diseases we have because we eat the palangi food. Most of the people, they like the sweets and those food like that. But when we got the diabetes and other disease, so we think that is not that's not good for our body. But the food that we have before, that we have strong and healthy, but this time we depend on the store to buy. That's why they grow up fat and get more disease. I'm young. I never eat any lollies or chocolate because we are poor in those times. I was thinner. But this time, I'm fat. So I think I eat too much food that we don't need before.
Lanisi's husband, Tuioti, was diagnosed 2 years ago, but has managed to control his diabetes through a change in diet.
Al keminga ngewa makanga kere koi ngusfa la suka. La fuakul mo le suka la ki ongo. O fa pe pese va venga mene. Ana va venga mo ya mene.
When he got the diabetes, then we tried to make the food suit for him, like the soup with veggies and not sugar in the tea and everything. We cut off the drink. Yeah, that's all. And ice cream. Those are all the things that we take care of him.
Alkeminge o le kamanga mia se mea pangwing ma soft drink la nga ni bai ice le vai pepper. Ia mea umanga e fia kakara Samoa ai tinganga loe mai suka ai ya pamari ingal mangamba iyo awa wa ngisa ba fal mai fo ese fai mai fo e pa kausisia kaka e fai ke kengo longo mai yeah.
5 kilometres up the road from Lalomalava is Samoa's second dialysis unit. It has 5 beds. The entire hospital was recently upgraded, but usually is staffed by 1 doctor. So there is no time to educate patients on the dangers of diabetes.
When I work at the public hospital, we may have up to 200 patients in ED on a day, and at times only 1 doctor. So that means the consult time is You know, goes right down there to 3 minutes. We're just, what's the problem? What's the biggest problem? You know, and this might be the first time somebody came to hospital and got told they had diabetes, and you had 3 minutes to explain things to people. So it's not the best way to go about tackling diabetes.
Increasing number of patients need the dialysis treatments. We only had 4-5 machines, so we need more machine, and we need to expand to the dialysis unit here in Savai.
Yeah, so it all boils down to getting good primary health care and not just putting all our energy into catching people at the end of the cliff.
I grew up in a society that you go to school with a coconut on one hand and a pawpaw on the other hand. That's your lunch. It could be your dinner too. But look at it now. You know, your kid, they're given money and they go to a canteen, and the only thing they will get is a very cheap soft drink and pie, chips, because that's what they like eating. So it's a very different world we live in.
In the first wave of Western contact, infectious diseases such as smallpox and influenza devastated these islands. The second wave of non-infectious diseases, such as diabetes, came with the modern Western lifestyle into the local culture. All this has happened in less than 40 years. Samoa's struggles with diabetes seem overwhelming, but it may be a warning of a global health disaster that will affect us all.
A lot of all the Western influences, the Western diet has had a lot to play, and it just so happened that they found a culture that valued food a lot. So a long time ago, that food was good food. So all the culturally appropriate things where there was a lot of exchange of food was always good food. So it was fresh fish. It was taro from the plantation. Things were baked in the earth oven. And that now has changed completely because we now have so much processed food which is brought to our island. And it's a shame that, you know, now the islanders are labeled as those bigger people with diabetes, where if you came and visited Samoa 100 years ago, it wouldn't be like that. You know, it's not that we're greedy or, you know, lazy. It's just that our culture and our people have lost our way a little. And the same way we brought in the foreign experience of different food, we need to bring in the foreign experience of health. You know, we can find our way back onto the healthy track, go back to how we used to eat, and to change people's attitudes to view that as actually the better diet, the more superior diet. That's what we need to be doing.
Quietly, easily, unhurried, the Samoan people live out their lives, buttressed against the shocks of intruding Western culture by unshaken belief that Samoa remains the center of the universe.
Attitude was brought to you by New Zealand On Air.